Hello, everyone, and welcome. Welcome back to This Week in a Factory of Sadness.
And we're back.
It's especially sad, both for me and the Browns. I don't know. I think they're going to lose to the Steelers this week, honestly.
I don't know. That would be all-time Cleveland depression syndrome because the Steelers are not all that good.
No, they're not. But it's the Browns being the Browns.
Yeah, but they're. I think Big Ben came back just for these games because he obviously stinks. I think he just wants to beat the Browns one last time.
He owns the Browns. I mean, he has. I think he's lost like 5 games to him in his career.
Owns.
Who owned the Browns?
Who owned the Browns?
Okay. Anyway, we promised we weren't going to go on tangents, and we made it about 34 seconds.
Well, no, this is the intro. This is your leeway to go on tangents. You have 3 minutes left. Okay. And then we'll get down into the meat and potatoes of the show.
You guys want to talk Brian Kelly real quick?
Nope. No, I do not.
Yeah, so we got that. We actually have good NFL games this weekend, which is a little bit of a relief. Last week was just horrible. I mean, so many good teams and fantasy relevant teams were on bye last week that it would really, you could tell from the scores that it was just like a lot of just limping through the week, hoping to get past. I didn't make it. So I couldn't get it done. But there were some teams that had good scores last week. Obviously, Glenn's heater is still continuing. Magical in a lot of ways. I think we got a good week. We got a lot of these big bangers back out on the field. Cowboys, Steelers. Who else was on the bye?
The Bills.
The Fudge? No, not the Packers.
What?
Minnesota.
Yeah, Minnesota's back off by, and somebody else that was pretty relevant too. So
anyway, Jacksonville was only relevant insofar as Jimmy Robb didn't play.
I mean, there's players though, and there's players.
There are guys. They have uniforms and everything.
Yeah, and there's only 2 teams on bye this week, right? Baltimore and I don't even know who the other one is.
No. Oh, the Chargers were on bye last week too.
Oh, Chargers. Yeah, exactly. So the Chargers were on fucking bye. They're huge. So who's on
Las Vegas is on bye this week.
Do it by design, but it was unbelievable how many fantasy relevant players were out last week. I mean, across all the leagues, it was just like hard to find a really solid lineup. But it also means that teams that are built around those high scoring offenses aren't going to be crippled by buys going forward. It's kind of
week 13 and 14 are going to be real tough for some really big name players too. I know I'm going to take that beating pretty bad. But hey, I mean, Baltimore doesn't cost a whole lot. Lamar Jackson owners are not happy. Hollywood Brown owners are not happy. And Vegas, that Josh Jacobs owner is not feeling it. But I mean, again, you'll be able to plug the holes a lot better this week. I expect to see a higher scoring week here in the factory and everywhere.
Yep, I think that's right.
And all right. So back by popular demand.
The Big Cat Power Rankings.
Dun, dun, dun.
Can you guys see the power rankings?
Zoom in a little.
Like they're pretty small.
Yeah, zoom in. It's kind of like, never mind.
I just want to make sure it wasn't my work email.
Just to be clear, right?
Too much. Back out of the
far right.
Go to like 140, Big Cat.
Yeah. Zoom out a little bit. The far right is the ultimate ranking, right? Your version of who the best team is.
Yeah,
right?
And the movement doesn't have any bearing yet because this is our first rankings of the year. Right.
No, but I mean over in column N as we see it right now. That's the ranking, right?
No, column K is the ranking.
Yeah, right here. So right now, out of 12 is the maximum in each category. 1 is the minimum. So right now, Turd Ferguson 10.65. That's a high score. Same for the libtard Glenn. His comeback has actually coincided with me wanting to cut myself a little bit more. So we got that going for me.
More than usual. It is.
But strong team, and then we got kind of the middling right through here. But yeah, so this is this order over here. That is the power rank order from best turd down to Seymour Bush, the worst right now.
What a fall from grace.
Yeah. So Mike Smith is on this podcast because right now he holds the best record in the entire league at 5-2.
Smoke and
Not a whole lot of respect from the Big Cat Power Rankings for that record, might I add.
This isn't the first time. So,
Well, so that's a very important point since we haven't done this in a while. So the only column that the Big Cat has any bearing over is this one right here, the future points. Everything else is just, straight off the website. This is the football guys ranking, which, much maligned, but it's something. And this is the website, my fantasy league power rankings in this column right here. So yeah, before we get into it, Mike, how are you feeling about your 5-2 number 1 seed team right now?
I'm feeling that I got really lucky. I think it doesn't take a rocket scientist to look at these numbers and know that I've been the beneficiary of some lucky matchups. I suffered a little bit of the season with the running back heavy strategy that I started with. I kind of abandoned that strategy with the Devontae for Nick Chubb trade. And now I'm kind of all in on the Packers, which will come back to bite me at some point, but that's kind of where I decided to make my bed this year. So I'm pushing all the chips in behind the Aaron Rodgers fuck you tour version or year 2. And we'll see how far it carries me. Obviously got very lucky on the waiver wire that Randall Cobb did turn out to be the guy who took the touchdown passes that would have gone to Adams otherwise. But as the Packers go, I think, I've got a lot of guys on my roster that ought to be on the waiver wire. I don't know what to do with them. And I am like one injury away from being completely irrelevant. So we'll see how long this holds up. But it's been a fun start. In another league we do together, I pulled this stunt last year and kind of crash landed like mirror into the playoffs and was washed out in week 1. So and I don't have the same kind of, head start that I did in that league last year. So I don't even feel like I'm a viable playoff team right now, but we'll see.
Let's have a quick discussion between the three of us to talk about how many wins are you going to need to get into one of those top 5 spots, right? So last year, who was the team with the fewest wins that made the playoffs? Anybody know right off the top of your head without looking it up?
I would guess 8 wins. It was 8-7. Is that 13?
No, it would have been
7 is 15 for
5.
So
no concerns here that you're handling.
7 and 6 is what I meant.
I'm perfectly
7 wins
with this math. This is
wins.
great. 7 and 6.
Mike, 7 is that your no wrong 6. Andrew got 6 and 7.
How did he get in? Was that a division winner or a tiebreaker?
The division winner. He was a division winning 6 and 7. The lowest ranked wild card was 8 wins. So you needed 7 wins. Tony got in at 7 and 6 as a wild card. So how many wins do we think you're going to need to get to? You need to get to 9, or do you think 8 and 8 will do it?
Well, we got 14 regular season games this year,
14.
right?
You think 7, 8? You think 8 wins?
I think you're going to need 8.
I think
this is breaking down.
Do you think 8 is going to get you into the first 2 wild card spots? Because the third wild card spot worth mentioning to the group is by total points. So I think 8. You think 8 and what do you need to be? 8?
I think 8.
I think 8 to get to, in the top 5.
I don't know. I mean, some of it depends on how much parity we had in the league last year. I kind of feel like that 6 and 7 getting into the playoffs betrays the fact that kind of everybody was in the hunt. I remember having a shitty team last year and I couldn't be a seller until really right down to the trade deadline because there was a bizarro scenario that got me enough wins to make the playoffs. This year, unless things change, things have just broken wrong for Bobby D and for Seymour Bush, right? Both of those rosters are actually pretty damn good. And Derek too, but I think Derek's team still has a good chance to flip the script and get back up to 500 within the next 3 weeks. Seymour and Floppy D caught a bunch of bad breaks. And teams will feast on that, right? If things don't turn around for them. And so I think that it may take 8 because you already got a ton of teams. I mean, hell, over half the league already has 4 wins. With 7 to go. With 7 weeks to go, if they can go 2 and 5, well, three. I'm sorry. And they go 3 and 4, that gets them to 7 wins.
And that kind of changes the way that you look at things too, Mike, because your scoring is not in the top half of the league. You probably only need to scrape out 3 more, and you're probably going to be okay. And 4, if or 2 wins, if you start scoring, you might have a chance there too. But
yes.
So it's probably an 8-win target, which, that leaves a lot of guys in there. I mean, Bobby and Matt are in deep shit, but, I mean.
Well, and on paper, Derek, I mean, purely record wise, Derek has a ways to go too, but you would have the 6th spot right now with scoring, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
But you just need to keep pumping points out there and see if you can win a few games, but you're dangerous. So interesting how that works.
But I mean, I don't know. I mean, just looking at even Joe Yee's 3 and 4 team, right? I mean, I think there's a scenario where that team catches lightning in a bottle too. So, I mean, I think you've got minimum 9, if not 10 or 11 teams that still have a chance. I
think we would be remiss at this point if we didn't talk about Glenn for just a minute.
Here he comes again.
This 3-week run that he's been on has been nothing short of spectacular. 3 weeks over 200 points. I didn't have the time to look up league history, but I mean, that might be a first. 3 in a row over 200.
It's a 1 in 3 team. That's a 1 in 3 team 4 weeks ago.
Yeah. Pretty exceptional. I mean, he's really riding, I mean, I was looking at Glenn. I mean, you can't score that many points without a full team effort, and his defensive players have been, just scoring out of their minds too. But that wide receiver core has just been, crushing it. And then Brady, I mean, it's that's Derek's team. Sorry. But, Herbert off last week and still putting 205 up there is pretty good. Pretty good.
Yep. I mean, he's off to
Brown working now. He's got McLaren, who's a freaking stud. Kyle Pitts is catching all kinds of passes in garbage time.
Yeah, he's really turned into what you need him to be at this point. What you drafted him for.
Yep.
Yeah. No, that's right. I mean, if you look at his
on that team,
that matchup this week between he and Andrew, I mean, they're out of the gate already, right? And
it's not
no, I mean, AJ Green didn't do much, including forgetting that he was getting the ball at the end of the game. Chandler Jones kind of did nothing. And Devondre Campbell, I didn't even know he played football. He had a fucking awesome game last night. And there's Chase Edmonds getting a touchdown also. And so he's already dug himself a bit of a hole with 2 guys having gone for each team. So this might be the week he slows it down a little bit, but who knows? I mean, those matchups against Indianapolis for his Tennessee players are pretty hot.
Yeah, I was going to say Derrick Henry routinely shits on Indianapolis. So
big time. So we'll see. But yeah,
Indy wins that game.
Colossal heater. Yeah, it feels like this season, that's exactly what's going to happen, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's totally nonsensical that Indianapolis would win that game and they probably boat race them somehow. Who knows?
All right.
So I was thinking of doing just to put a bow on this. I was thinking of doing playoff previews, but honestly, I think everyone's
too early.
This week is still in it right now. So
yeah.
I think we need a week or 2 before those races get flushed out a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So,
shit you want to talk about the power rankings? They are interesting.
So again, I've been doing this for a while. We just, assign points to each one. We divide it out at the end and come up with a power ranking. So this happened way back in the day when people were complaining about my power rankings because, I was kind of, manipulating them based on what I thought was going to happen. And obviously to make myself look good.
Always. It was always a strange coincidence.
So this is just a accumulation of different stats. And, this is the only one. And I kind of winged it.
Look at
Actually,
you, Mr. Transparency.
Yeah.
but I was kind of going off of these two to come up with this column, because it's really close. Honestly, you look at all these games; they're all pretty tight, and everyone's got a decent roster. There's no guaranteed wins out there,
Yeah.
like like it was playing Smitty last year at the end of the season.
I need Kittle to come back, and that'll pay off.
Mhm.
Treading water until Kittle and Russell Wilson comes back, and then my team turns into something pretty interesting.
Yeah,
But I think
there's a
one
lot
thing,
of scoring potential to have on injured reserve.
and I'd say one thing that jumps out to me a little bit, just with Glenn, who is top points, but or actually with Dave Free, who's second to most points with poor efficiency, and that kind of means that he's scoring a lot and leaving a lot on the bench. And some starting decisions that didn't go his way, not necessarily bad decisions, but there's a lot of potential points out there for Turd Ferguson. Glenn's just been on fire, and there's a lot of guys in the middle that happens every year that you kind of think what's going on this last week of October, and by Thanksgiving it's something completely different.
Yeah,
Sure.
So yeah, I think you hit on a bunch of them there. This max points, that's basically, if you were to submit a perfect lineup every week, how many points would you score? The higher, in my opinion, it's one of the best rankings out here, because it kind of just shows you how solid your roster is. Butthole surfers.
In my own defense, for my crappy lineup, right? My max points suck because I'm carrying like 4 running backs that have 0 value until the frontline guy in a run heavy offense goes down, right?
Yep.
So as an explanation, at least in my mind, why I'm so low in that space and why my efficiency is so high, my efficiency is like a no-brainer, because I've got guys like Ronald Jones, Trey Sermon, like you're never going to play those guys unless the guys ahead of them. Trey Sermon, I'll never play. I'll cut his ass soon. But anyway, so some of that is roster construction, how you want to gamble. It doesn't do me a lot of good to have a guy who's posting a ton of points and agonizing and picking wrong every week. So I opted for a different way of constructing the roster.
Yeah.
And because of that, football guys ranked you dead last in the league.
Right. And they're, at 5-2, I think they're spot on. So, but when I'm 5-8 in a couple of weeks, I'll bow down to them. So
we'll see how it all works.
I mean, I don't really think your team is that bad.
Well, it is, minus a couple of the guys that I ride every week, right? I mean, the guys that I have on the bench are not usable unless there's a major injury. But they won't be the waiver wire if there is a major injury. So we'll see.
That's what's going on with my team. I'm getting big performances every single week, but with those big performances, I'm getting some really bad performances in the same week. It was just causing me to lose by those small margins. So I got a lot of work to do. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So anything else on here jump out to you guys, fellas?
Been a long time since we've seen the big cat towards the bottom of the league, and Matt, our 2-time defending champion, fucking just sinking like a stone. So
yeah. Well, look, I empathize. If I look at Matt's roster, it basically looks like my roster in the other league. Like most of his underperforming guys that on paper and ADP and stuff like that should have been brick shit houses that are not doing well are sitting on my roster in another league where I have a losing record. And so and in that league, I'm ready to be a fire sale seller. It sucks, but there's no clear path forward when multiple guys you took in the first handful of rounds turned out to be duds. Like, it sucks.
Yeah. What can you do? All right.
Sell it off.
You didn't have to go to the timer on that one. We still got 2 minutes left.
Well, we need to figure out how to get a timer on screen so that we can stay on track here. Anyway, where to next?
So let's pick this week's games.
That's super exciting.
Game of the week. Game of the week is
on.
What's the game of the week?
Mike Smith, Dave Free.
All right, we'll save that one for last then.
Okay.
We'll go to this
Commissioner on Commissioner crime.
of a game right here. Midnight Poutine versus Not Perverted, Just Italian. It's a great name.
Yeah.
Oh, there's a timer. I think he also didn't that guy just get like
Yeah, I think he's finally
something
been
that
tried.
happened.
Yeah.
I doubt
Well,
he would jail though.
He really did handle COVID well, though. So don't forget that.
He wrote a book about it.
He wrote a book.
All right,
well-
Mike, you can go first on this matchup since the other two guys are in it.
I mean, good Lord. What does the site say? Oh man, its site has a neck and neck projection. So Dave and I have argued about this in other contexts, and I think Khalil Herbert has sort of set himself apart from Damian Williams, but I feel like Matt Nagy may just be one of those dumbass old school coaches who's like, you don't lose your place if it's an injury or a COVID or something like that. And I'm worried that Khalil Herbert finds himself in a carry share with whatever Williams is coming off the COVID list. I don't know that last week Nagy felt comfortable that like Williams was 100% ready to go. That might have explained the distribution of carries. So given that you've already got 2 touchdowns on the board out of the corpse of James Conner, and I like your stack against New Orleans with the Tampa Bay guys, I'm going with you. Yeah, I like CeeDee Lamb to come hot out of the bye, but other than that, I'm not too sure about what the Los Angeles receivers are going to do. Kelsey has just been kind of muddling along. There's nothing to cure that like the Giants defense, but we'll see. So yeah, I'm going to take Midnight Poutine to get back in the win column and begin his march to the playoffs, which puts Not Perverted, Just Italian kind of in no man's land at 4-4.
What do you think, Dave?
I mean, I think I'm probably gonna end up switching Jameis for Wentz, which isn't gonna make a material difference as far as points go. But I don't really like Wentz against Tennessee, just because I think it's gonna be a run fest. I think they're just gonna run and run and run and run, and it's kind of what they want to do. So
how many points do we lose for interceptions?
He doesn't throw interceptions anymore. I mean, they don't let him throw.
True.
I'm sorry, they don't let him throw enough to throw a lot of interceptions.
Okay.
I mean, that last week.
Once they're down by 31 points in the first half, I think they're going to have to turn them loose. But we'll see.
But here's the other thing too: is you can't run against Tampa Bay.
Correct.
You can't do it. So they're going to have to throw it, and I don't care who they throw it to. Hopefully Kamara, but the way to beat Tampa's defense is to throw it deep. They got some speedy guys there. They got Kamara. I mean, I think their plan is going to be to pass it, and Taysom Hill is still out with his concussion. So anyway, a lot of talk about Winston, and he's going to go out and score me 19 points like usual. I don't know. I guess it's a coin flip. I don't like Garrett going against the Steelers. He should be able to get to Ben a couple of times.
Oh, yeah.
Defenses. I mean, we both have good defensive starters, so. I think my wide receivers look a little bit better. Manny Sanders is kind of a little bit. I think Lamb and Williams and Woods are all in good situations against bad teams. So I don't know. I guess I'll say it's me just because I'd be a fucking Judas if I didn't, but I place zero confidence on that.
Well, I'll tell you.
I really have zero confidence in this prediction as well. I feel like the names on Dave's roster are better than mine. But at the same point in time, if I were to take the over-under on these projections, I would take the over on my side probably. And I think Dave's is pretty close. So, I'll take myself just because I have to. But
for all the self-deprecation and stuff like that, I want to point out 2 things, right? Joe Mixon is running against the Jets defense that couldn't stop a nosebleed. They're fucking horrifying.
Yeah, but they got 21 points in here for him.
What's that?
They got 21 points in here, on the projections.
Yeah, I think he's going to
be happy if he did that.
And then just don't lose sight of. I mean, I think New Orleans has an excellent defense. Don't get me wrong, but Tom Brady's Tom Brady, and like this is a 1 versus 2 in the NFC South. matchup. I suppose it's possible that New Orleans defense slows them down, but if given the opportunity, I think that Tampa Bay will go full throttle on this game. And so if they do, it's going to be because Brady put up big points, and getting Godwin. I just think that and the Jets' shitty run defense is the difference, in my opinion.
Yep.
You know, Elijah Mitchell coming back, who knows? He could be great, or he could suck like every other running back that's played for San Francisco this year. Alex Collins and Khalil Herbert, like that, I don't know. That doesn't build any confidence for me. That those guys are just guys.
I mean, Elijah Mitchell had 19 for 107 and a touchdown last week, just for the sake of mentioning.
Yep.
Khalil Herbert last week against the Bucs had 18 for 100 and 5 catches for 33.
Well, if you get last week's points, you're in good shape.
Well, I'm just saying, like, they're not great names. Like, I get that argument. I mean, and Collins against the Saints was a disaster, but he still had 16 carries. So I guess what I'm looking at is opportunity. I think all three of those running backs will get a lot of opportunity, and we'll see. Fuck it. Fuck it.
All right. Libtard at the Bearded Clam.
So Andrew's already jumped out to a big lead in this game.
Yep. So he's got Chase Edmonds, right, that blew up, and his linebacker. Well, I have no idea who that is.
I have no idea who that dude is. Let's
dude who sweet long threads in Green Bay's defense.
6-year guy out of Minnesota, a Golden Gopher.
Good for him. Yeah, I mean, look, Andrew's wide receivers don't inspire a whole lot of confidence. Khalif Raymond, Darius Slayton, and Jalen Waddle. Diggs obviously is in a good spot, but like, is Buffalo just going to run it 50 times and just beat the life out of the Miami Dolphins? Probably. So, I mean, he's off to a hot start. But I mean, how could you bet against Glenn right now? Guy's been over 200 points 3 weeks in a row. Now I'm Glenn on this one.
Yeah, I'm Glenn too.
Andrew's got, the added challenge of the Dak Prescott situation, right? I mean, he's got to shit or get off the pot with Joe Burrow against the Jets defense before he's going to. I know, but before he knows whether Dak is 100% going to go, and so he's probably stuck there. That sucks. So,
I mean, it's not problematic to start Burrow against the Jets, though.
Yeah.
So, and Herbert against New England is sneaky, not very good, because New England just
about that.
It up,
Yeah.
So, okay, the Bush.
All right. Next one, Seymour Bush versus Grow Up. I'll kick off. Didn't I just lose to Seymour Bush last week by like 3 points?
Maybe.
So, when you pull up these projections, they're crappy projections, but they kind of tell you who has the better players a little bit. So like the guys in the 150s, 160s have pretty good, lineups going. I would agree that these two lineups aren't as good as some of the others that we just talked about. But I mean, Cooper Kupp, he's just been an absolute machine. James Robinson has been doing well too. Mahomes is probably going to bounce back this week. So,
also, I mean, I know it's against Pittsburgh, but it's not the same Pittsburgh defense known over the years. Nick Chubb is sitting on IR and will be coming off. I don't know what he's going to do roster-wise to make room for him, but he could replace a Cole Beasley or Tony Pollard with Nick Chubb, and I think Chubb's matchup proof. So if he goes, which I believe he's going to go, that changes my thoughts on this game.
Yeah, if he goes, then you play him, obviously, and I mean, it's probably not going to be a career day for Chubb, but he always gets a lot of touches and a lot of carries and all the goal line work. And, I'm with you there. I think Andrew, or I think Tony has just too much for Seymour Bush to overcome here. So this is a pretty easy one for me. It's Grow Up.
Yep.
I mean, Seymour gets Jerry Jeudy back. I really like that, but.
And Goddard is now the only show in town. Playing tight end, and that's going to help him. But Allen Robinson has just been a travesty. And, Michael Carter, okay. But like, since his defense is actually pretty good, and Zeke should eat, Zeke's been really good recently. So that's great to get him back. So I think Andrew should be able to cover him. I don't think it's a complete, or Tony should be able to cover him, but I don't think it's going to be a complete blowout.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, lose Miles Sanders, like both to shitty coaching and now to IR. I mean, it's just brutal,
shit all year anyway.
right? Mike Davis, a complete nothing burger this season is, whatever. I'm
tough.
picking Tony here, especially if Chubb is a full go. I think that pushes him over the top
for sure.
Yeah, Nick Chubb's definitely going to play, so he's definitely going to be in that lineup. All right, Big Poppy pinged me this week. He's looking to make moves. He's looking to trade out there.
Let's
I told him I couldn't quite give up yet, but just know that.
Big Poppy, fucking pedal to the metal out there.
Get after it, buddy.
Prior champ, Big Poppy. Anybody that starts Josh Allen is okay in my book.
Agree. Well, especially since Kyler didn't have a huge night.
Yeah, that's true. Pretty bad, actually. If we're giving a little lineup advice, I don't hate pulling McKissick for Devin Singletary. Miami has a bottom 5 run defense.
Mm-hmm.
If it's going to be a lot of running, I don't know, what is he going to get? 10, 12 carries. If you got that, then that could be something. But
could stumble into the end zone too. I don't know. I mean, I like butthole surfers
for Singletary, to be completely honest.
I like Surfer's lineup, but I don't like Hopkins and Murray posting inferior numbers. So
yeah,
it's a tough start there. And, it'd be interesting. At some point, Butthole's going to, if it times up right, and Antonio Gibson and Melvin Gordon and Chuba Hubbard have big games at the same time, it's going to look like a no-brainer slam dunk win week for him. But those guys just keep bumping along and sort of under-delivering. I'm going Poppy this week.
Yeah, Bobby
Tonyan, Ja'Marr Chase, and I think Ja'Marr Chase will have a big week.
Yeah, Ja'Marr Chase. Oh my God, come on. Ja'Marr Chase and Tyreek Hill on one team. That's absurd. So, yeah, if I was talking to Poppy right now, I'd say take Robbie Anderson out of there, forget him, throw Singletary in, see if you can't get 10 points out of him, and chalk it up. I think Poppy's got the edge here.
Yep, I would say it would be closer if Murray and Hopkins didn't already go.
That's going to be
agree. I totally agree. I think those guys are going to be an anchor for butthole surfers to have a win this week. That's
really tough to overcome.
All right. The stay alive game here, Floppy D versus Pandemonium. What do you guys think?
I really do love Joe's running back room.
Yeah, Joe's running backs are pretty. I mean,
Keenan.
Did Joe lose last week? Did Joe lose last week?
Don't know. I think so.
I think he did. Must have.
I think
let me help you fill in the blanks, right? He had Dalvin Cook, Austin Eckler. I mean, it's not a big deal, but Chase Claypool, Keenan Allen.
Claypool was off.
All of them on bye last week. So
great.
He just chewed down his shit burger, but he's going to be able to start those guys for the rest of the season. So I would go with Joe Yee here. And I mean, like,
yeah, I'm with you. I'm on Joe here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Game of the week then. Derelict My Balls versus Turd Ferguson.
Big game here.
I will just predict that I lose by fewer than 6 points. And that the phantom somehow touchdown that wasn't a touchdown by Aaron Jones in the final minute or two of the game last night will be to blame for a loss this week is my projection.
But did that touchdown go to
no, they didn't score. They didn't score. They turned it over on the 1 yard line because they tried to run a little bootleg. But I mean, I rolled the dice because I didn't like what I had on the bench. I got Cobb for $7 or something like that. And, I got my Packers points. And I'm ride or die with those guys this year. But I mean, as you can see, I got to start 2 tight ends because my bench sucks that bad. So,
and Jones had a big game. Like, yeah, he didn't get that touchdown, but he still put 23.5 points on the board.
Oh, yeah, no, huge.
So I think that you're in it here, but Sutton, Deontay Johnson, Jonathan Taylor, Alvin Kamara,
Henderson. I mean, he's got 5 guys that are
those guys all have like plus matchups. plus Gesicki against Buffalo. Like they're going to be throwing. Tua has shown a propensity to throw to Gesicki, or they've designed plays differently or whatever. He's been doing very well. So,
and he's got very good defensive players, and my two guys had pedestrian games. Like they're fine, but neither of the two defenders that I had going last night for Arizona topped double-digit points. So
I would appreciate if you knocked off Turd Ferguson, but I don't think you're gonna.
It was, I tell you what, though, I mean, it was just so stressful to watch. Every time the damn Cardinals had the ball, there was nothing happening for me. And then the Packers would get it back, and I'm hoping that A.J. Dillon doesn't get the touchdown. And I want to see Baker and Simmons make tackles. And I mean, it was like an emotional roller coaster watching the game last night. But I kind of mentally had 75 points as the plus threshold, given that I had 5 guys going last night.
What did you make? 74? Pretty good.
Came up short of that target threshold. So I am not feeling very good going into the weekend.
Yeah.
I'm not going to make a pick, or I guess if I have to make a pick, at least I got over 70 and I'll pick myself, but I don't have much confidence in that with the guys he's going with, and their matchups are just awesome.
Yep. This is Dave Free has a fire lineup, man. Like in his linebackers are really good.
Yep.
So, I don't think many teams would beat Turd Ferguson this week based on this lineup and the matchups that he has inside of it.
Yeah, he's definitely a top score candidate.
Yeah. All right. Well, that was a very efficient show, boys. I enjoyed it. We got a lot of information out there. Yep, pick some games. And just worth mentioning again, the 6th playoffs spot is reserved for the highest point total of the remaining teams. So
the big cat.
That might keep me in it as to where I normally start selling off, especially if I lose this week. If I lose this week, I'd have to run the table to get to that 8-win mark. So I don't see that happening. So interesting change, and we'll see how it works out.
Yeah, it should be interesting. Keep more teams in it. In a regular year, you'd be a seller almost already. Mm-hmm. But this would be the last week before you sell if you don't win. Right. And now, even so, if you score 175 points, it doesn't make sense for you to sell because you can build a lead there that can be almost impossible to overcome over the next 3 weeks.
Yep. No, I love that change. I think it's great. And having been a 6th seed as the 3rd wild card team based on record in the past, I'd rather not make the playoffs at that point. So,
that's what I was thinking last year, and I lost in the first round of the losers bracket.
Yeah, well, you get that. You're in that dead zone of the draft picks, like picks 5.
The worst. Yeah. Yeah, it's just sucks. No. Anyway.
All right.
All right, boys. Well, good luck this week. We shall see you soon.
Hopefully next time we talk, be World Series champions.